Hey, Aloha, brahz, how's it? Today we got a lightning sorcerer build for you, a DPS guide, right? Not your traditional tank or healer build from me. And we're testing out one of the sets from the Waking Flames DLC, the Thundercolor set. And it's really, really fun to use. Like, you gotta understand, I'm not a DPS guy, so I don't know if it's like the meta, if it's the best set to use, but I'll tell you right now, it's very fun. And the AoE that happens when you heavy attack with it is actually very aesthetically pleasing on the screen, as you can see here. Here I just have some really general clips of killing mobs of enemies. This is a very AoE heavy build, so mahalo for tuning in. Hope you enjoy. So for class, we're going to go to the Sorceress. The Sorceress is the class with the class tree that is specifically made for lightning. And then for two races, I would go between the High Elf or the Dark Elf. Now, there's a very marginal difference in between the two. I would say High Elf is probably better for slightly better sustain on the Magicka end. Dark Elf is better if you want some more stamina to like break free. Alright, so for your attributes, I put everything in a Magicka. You want to maximize the amount of Magicka you have so you can sustain your spells longer. Because it's so Magicka heavy, this build, you want to have as much Magicka as you can. Right. So I don't put anything else. So now I'm just pre-buffing with Critical Surge, and then showing you the spell damage right after that. So check out the spell damage. Closer to 5k, right? A lot better than before. So you want to keep that up as much as you can. And yeah, you want to go the Apprentice for your Mundus Stone, ideally, right, for spell damage. And for your food, Witch Mother's Potent Brew is cheap, Clockwork Citrus Fillet is more expensive. Now for your gear sets, the unique piece is really the Thundercaller from the Waking Flames DLC. It's from one of the dungeons. And it's really nice. You heavy attack on an enemy and you spawn a circular AoE at the enemy's location that persists for like 6 seconds, and it damages enemies around them, along with an initial first attack. And then your second set is your very meta set with your Mother Sorrow, which is increasing your spell critical, which everybody has. Now for your weapons, you want your front bar to be an Inferno Staff from the Thundercaller, right, just for stronger single target damage. And then on your back bar, ideally you want Crushing Wall as a Lightning Staff, because it's better in terms of AoE and you can just concuss a lot of enemies at once. And finally for your monster set, you want Zaans. This is a great set for casters especially, because when you get close to enemies and you're light or heavy attacking, especially when you're weaving it in, you're really going to hit heavy after, 6 seconds, because that 2k in flame damage just doubles all the time for 6 seconds. Here's just a brief showcase of the gear that I have on in case it's confusing at all. Inferno's Staff of Mother Sorrow, front bar, right? And then back bar, I don't have the Maelstrom Lightning Staff because I just got tired of farming it, right? So I settled with the fire version, but you definitely want that. Now Zaan's helmet, I have it heavy here. Just wanted a little more defense. This build can get a little squishy sometimes, and sorc builds are just squishy. Here, and then Zaan, the Thundercaller chest here. So on my chest, waist, hands, legs, feet, I have Thundercaller. For my jewelry and my weapon, I have Inferno Staff of the Mother Sorrow set. And then for your helm and shoulders, that's where I put my monster set. Let me show you what I have for the skills on the front bar. Crystal Fragments, right, from your Dark Magic skill line. Your heavy hitting single target attack that you'll basically be spamming as much as you can. Got your Daedric Tomb, which is a very high damaging 3 ground trap. It lays 3 on the ground in a triangle. Got your Endless Fury, Stormcalling. This is your execution move, right? You always use it on enemies when they're less than 20% HP. Then it'll damage enemies outside too. Got your Inner Light, just a bar buffer. That's all it is for mag and spell crit. Got your Summon Volatile Familiar from the Summoning skill line, activated for the Pulse to Stun. Fiery Rage from the Destruction Staff skill line, AoE, high damage, damage over time. Now for your back bar, right, I got Blockade of, you want Lightning, obviously, but I don't have it. I have the Fire Staff, that's why it's that. You have your Lightning Flood, which is from the Stormcalling skill line. Very good damaging AoE dot. And your teammates can activate it for more damage. Mystic Orb from the Undaunted skill line, which is just straight travel AoE dot and a team can activate for resources if they're ever running low. Got your Critical Surge, which is your self damage buff, which can also heal you if you hit crit. And you have the Volatile Familiar, just so it doesn't disappear, right, when you switch. And then Summon Charge Archonok from your summoning skill line. Very high damage on activation, periodic AoE damage, and teams can activate to increase their damage. And these are just the passive skills that I deemed that were mandatory for this build, right? So most of the Sorcerer skill lines are maxed out. However, some of the other stuff, like if you're not using heavy armor, you don't need to put any points in heavy armor, because that's another 10 points you need, right? These are the champion points that I think are best for this build. A lot of the warfare slottables that I put are aimed towards higher single target damage versus AoE, just because that's my preference. First thing you want to do is to make sure you have your Volatile Familiar summoned and to activate it periodically for its stun ability. Then you want to switch to your back bar and pre-buff with your Critical Surge, which will increase your spell damage as well as activate critical heals. While on your back bar, you want to lay down your dots or your damage over time abilities, Lightning Flood, Elemental Blockade, and Mystic Orb. Add in a heavy attack at the end to replenish Magicka, as well as to proc the effect of Thundercaller. So you want to throw down your Daedric Tombs at enemies and then start hitting them with Crystal Fragments, remembering to weave in your light attacks in between and to using heavy attacks when you're getting a little lower on resources. And then when enemies drop below 20% health, I know it says 25% here, but that's when I usually start executing with Endless Fury. Endless Fury will activate a strong AoE attack as well if you hit them below 20%. And finally, using your ultimates whenever you're able to and when they're needed. Depending on the situation, you could use a Greater Storm Atronach or the Fiery Rage from the Destruction Staff skill line. Really up to you. And that's it. Mahalo so much for watching the vid. Here I just have some veteran gameplay in a veteran dungeon called the Unhallowed Graves. I think it's Unhallowed Graves, I'm not exactly sure. A fairly difficult dungeon. You gotta know I'm not a great DPS. I basically play healer and tank. So I thought we did well. Our damage isn't crazy, but I thought it was just really fun to play. The execution is just so satisfying to do. And I think I got to a point where my parse was acceptable to do veteran dungeons. I think I managed to do 50k on a dummy finally. It's really difficult for me to remember to parse properly and know what to press like in the correct order, so I wasn't keeping up my buffs long enough, and I wasn't keeping up my resources from that dummy, so I had to constantly weave in heavy attacks to restore. But I thought 50k was okay. I'm not going to show that because I know it's embarrassing. A lot of you can do a lot better, so you might as well not do it. It's a waste of time. And yeah, these are just some of the bosses. We didn't do this in hard mode. That final boss I've actually never done on hard mode with the DPS, so figured we just do it regularly. I think we made it far enough in a random pug. This is another random pug. I'm not playing with friends here, so yeah, we did pretty well. So mahalo again for tuning in. Thank you for all the subs and comments and support. Really do appreciate it. Take it easy. Stay safe. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. See you another day, guys. Mahalo. Aloha.